Hi. Um, I'm having a moment getting back on here. I was ready to jump in and be like straight to the point and just say what I have to say. And it's not it's not how it's going to be, I think. I think I'm not ready to jump in like that after I had my 4 weeks away, my 4 week retreat, solitude retreat, which was hard, also really good. And since then, I've been feeling like so interesting because my thoughts right now, they are racing. They are quick. There's this first of all this overall pressure of, I'm trying to get your attention, trying to hold on to your attention. I'm imagining someone's on the other side watching, you, whoever that is, which is such an interesting thing, this talking to the internet, talking to whomever might see this, because it's impossible to talk to someone when that someone isn't known. It's like, I remember my therapist said once, or maybe it was one of the coaches I was working with, that, like business coaches, no, I think it was one of, not my current practitioner, but the one before that, he said, I really want to acknowledge that posting things on social media, it is strange. It's like walking into the grocery store, start reading a personal letter, just to everyone and no one. And of course, when I'm talking, there is, although I'm having lots of thoughts and a complicated relationship to this, I hope someone's watching. Like this, there's some disconnect there, because just talking about that makes me start to dissociate. The idea of, like, I don't know, if there's this woman I follow, I haven't really watched anything on Instagram for the last now 6 weeks, but there was this woman I used to follow, Rachel, or Yoga Girl. She has 2 million followers. And she is talking and she knows someone's watching. I don't know if I would feel different though if I knew. This is starting off way off the point. This was not what I wanted to talk about, but and the question in my mind right now is, do you want to take a step back and like think about what you want to say before you come on? So you can be to the point, because people are pressed for time. And then there's this argument inside of like, because I really like those types of videos, you know, informative, hopefully also entertaining. But then there is this voice inside my head saying, but the world needs more slowness. It's way too fast. And it needs more like being human and less two-dimensional, more three-dimensional. It's weird in a way, like how many people are speaking about things, like educating, enlightening, informing, advising, guiding. They're so, like, after being away for 4 weeks, and I barely touched my phone. Like, I had days where I didn't turn my phone on. Almost. And man, my brain is not made for taking in as much information as I do. Like, I just yesterday I had a session with a client, and then I was cooking dinner after, and then I instantly, after the session, which is already 90 minutes of input, taking someone in for 90 minutes, and then I put on some podcast and it's more talking, and I'm like, wow, it's so busy up here now, like I can't. And I decided to put on like some really calm music instead, so I can actually let the session process, because I was just putting information on top of information. It's noise. It's really something about being me and whoever's watching, like this moment of being here. There's something, I had a few things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to start with one thing, and so far I'm not even touching that. And another thing I wanted to talk about is, this is what I thought maybe I had to start with this because this is so present within me. Although I have not full clarity yet, so it's messy. But there's something I am, if you have ever, like, if you're into self-exploration, self-awareness, like therapy, growth, that kind of stuff, then you know, like, when you're up against like a really, really ingrained and like a very core pattern. So when you're up against that and you want to change that, like, I'm in that space. I know that, but I have not full clarity on, because I think there are multiple patterns like playing into one. So I'm not fully sure what it is. So it's this, sometimes I have this, like, okay, I have this clarity. I know the direction where I'm going. so it's like easier to lean in. This time I'm just like, I'm breaking something, some pattern, don't know. So I'm walking very much in the blind, and it requires a different kind of trust or surrender, or, man, those are overused words. But it's like the only way forward is to keep coming like really, really back to the core of myself and be like, this is what's right for me, this is what's true for me. May the chips fall. Like, let the chips fall where they may. I have no idea if this is going to be okay. I have no idea if this is going to work out, but I know this is my truth. So there you go. And I've been feeling like out of energy, out of patience, like a mix of like jadedness, bitterness, feeling resigned. Like, I don't know, it has a special kind of flavor to it, because I don't feel like I'm projecting. I feel like I'm in touch with reality more, and like acknowledging that this is reality more. That it's like actually seeing that a lot of people aren't able to show up as decent people. They are not able to, like, you can't talk to them. It doesn't, they're not really here. And I think seeing that and like really acknowledging that, instead of making it like, oh, that's a projection because my vibration is messed up and I just need to do some inner work and release some feelings, and then my reality will be beautiful. Like, no. So seeing that, it makes me like, what's the point interacting with those people, situations, energies? What's the point? I think this ties in with I've been reading a book called Design the Man Within by Johnny Elsasser, a former SEAL, SWAT, something, Special Ops Ranger, something, which I've consumed a lot of that during those 4 weeks. Just interesting why I wanted to have that energy inside me. I have an idea why, because something clicked into place a few days ago. But I've been reading his book, and he has exercises, like do the work exercises at the end of each chapter, and in one of them he's talking about legacy, and man, the questions he posed, they're such fucking powerful, impactful, awesome questions. They turn my brain the other way around, and yeah, they're really, really good. And I think those questions, answering them, made me get into this. Also, some questions about me as a leader. like coming up with 3 leaders I look up to, writing down their traits and how they lead, and then looking at commonalities and then comparing with myself. And I realized like looking at that, how I'm so avoidant, like so afraid of confrontation, that I struggle to make the decisions necessary to get me to where I want to go. Like if I ran multi-billionaire company, like I wouldn't because of this, because I would have like a fucking incompetent employee and be like, well, we can talk about it. Maybe we can teach you how to do your job. Like it's, let's just give him a second chance or a third one or a fourth. So that combined with the legacy piece and getting in touch with what do I actually, and I talked about this before, but there are like layers and layers. What do I actually want? Because it doesn't make sense keep putting energy into situations, energies, people, to upholding the same patterns within myself if they're not giving me that thing that I want. And there's so much information in this topic for me, so I'm having a hard time with all of it at the same time. There's something in me, some part or some I keep wanting people to understand, like I want to leave things, us being on the same page. I have this pull, like I need people to understand where I'm coming from in my decision making, because I don't want them to make it mean something about themselves that isn't true and now they're in pain. I don't want them to think I left them because I don't love them, when in reality it was the incompatibility or they not being able to see me. Like I'm trying to not let people have the perception they have. I'm trying to I'm having a hard time letting them have their own perception. I'm just sitting with that because that's true. If people have a perception about me that it's not correct, and it's not that I see it differently, it's untrue. It's untrue. It's their belief making thing. That's difficult to let people have that. Don't know where I'm going with this all of a sudden. Maybe it was someplace important, but can't recall right now. I was talking about this new energy that I'm in, that feeling like I don't have it in me to put energy into things anymore. There is something about that I've been thinking about, like missing let's hope this just ties together. there's something about missing experiences, and when not having that experience, trying to walk in a specific direction, so taking new action, breaking with the pattern that used to keep you somewhat safe, and you expect only bad things to happen, and you don't know what you're walking towards. Like, I'm wondering if I can recall that realization or that moment I had the other day. Like, I'm thinking about how maybe I can use one of my clients as an example. And I think he is similar to me, that he no no no, I'm not going there. I feel like I'm becoming not more mean, but I feel like I'm becoming more, well, that's on you. That's on you, so you deal with that. That's not mine. Like, if you want to talk it through, ask. That's fine. But not this inherent me trying to avoid that you feel bad. Like, it's this rupture of, like, your perception of me and the situation, that's yours. Like, maybe the more okay I am becoming with this, like for the sake of God, there's so many things in the process of healing. There's so many things that builds on each other. Like, there are things I'm able to believe and think and access at this point because I had experiences in therapy and with friends or people or with myself, that if I didn't have those moments, I wouldn't be able to build to where I'm at now. So I can be where I'm at now and say, like, oh, I can think this way and I can feel this way. Those are great things to think and feel. I'm liberated in this sense. But then, and people will sell you that you can get there like this, so quick. But I would never have gotten here unless for how fucking many years have I been in therapy? Like 1,000. A lot. A lot. You can't, wow, that sucks. You can't you can't jump ahead. I feel like it's not spoken about, it's not emphasized, it's not shoved in people's faces that it really is a process. How much of my time working on myself have I spent trying to get to some place and it's premature? Like, I'm trying to get to some place and 10 steps are missing. And then I'm like, that is the process, kind of, I think. Like, you're trying to reach some place and then doesn't work, and then you have to look at what's there. Like, it's that trying to reach this place that flushes up what needs to be seen, and then you deal with that, and then you're closer. But maybe I'm advocating for some grace on this journey. I think. Okay, so I'm slowly coming around to the first thing I wanted to talk about after 25 minutes. I'm doing great. so at least I'm having a good time with myself, which is important. In therapy with my current practitioner, on multiple occasions, like, I'm coming with a problem. I don't know how to deal with the situation with this person, my family often, or these people on Tinder. one of those, and I'm fixed on the outer thing, like the external situation, and he's like, he keeps reminding me that there's dynamic in me at play, and if I'm present to that, and if I'm like, if I can look at that, then that will calm, and I'll be able to be somewhat oriented, and that will ease a lot of the problems. So it's about me. It's a me problem, and not meaning that I'm a problem or that there's something wrong. It's just, it's a me dynamic playing out. And I've done work on myself for years, and I've sat with myself, parts of myself, for years, and it's been a continuous process to really learn how to do that, because we don't know how to do that. Most people have no idea what it means. And I spoke with a client earlier this week, and she was tired. She's like, I've done inner work. I'm tired. It's so much effort. And then if you're spinning your wheels, I mean, therapy is hard in and of itself, but if you're spinning your wheels, if there's something you're not doing correctly, and then that makes it so you miss out on the transformation, which is the reward, then it's fucking exhausting. It's a drain. And this is so, like, people don't know how many separate personalities, parts they have inside, they have their own awareness and their own consciousness. They're like a separate person, just disconnected from everything. Or from the totality of your whole. And those parts are as much you as you, and they can be spoken to as much as I speak to you. But that establishing connection, contact with that part, most people don't know what that is. They haven't felt it. And it's puzzling to clients, because I can see them shift. I can see it. They feel it. They can say, I feel different all of a sudden. And I'm like, yeah, I can see it. I see it in your eyes. I see it in your like facial expression. Your voice just changed. Your energy changed. And then for me, it's so the client's not fully aware of what's going on. And I've had moments like that myself. I'm in therapy and I'm like, whoa, something is strange. I don't know what it is. So I'm noticing a shift, a change, but I can't catch it. Which is half of what therapy is about, like figuring out what that is. So I'm with a client and something shifts. So I'm like working on now the premise that's a part. Separate personality inside that person is coming up. And then because it's a so interesting situation, because they have their own awareness, and that new consciousness is also, so they're two people at the same time, which that can be quite disorienting, and it's confusing until for some time. So it's my job, I'll grab on, like I will look at them and be like, when I get a hold of that new thing that came in and I can see it, I'm like, okay, I got you now, I see you, who are you? And me doing that helps the client, how do I say that? It makes them become aware of it. It helps them become aware of it. It's like they become in relationship with me, or yeah. Which is, that's actually like we become in relationship to others. If you don't get proper mirroring, in a way you don't become, and you don't exist. Where was I'm like fucking sidetracking. I can't recall where I started. Yeah, I was talking about the, yeah, so during those 4 weeks, I had a lot of time to be with myself. So this constantly evolving relationship with me and myself, and learning to see myself. So I've made this I've had this practice of, so I'm doing my workout and then I'm feeling something and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then I play around with like feeling into what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, trying to make that like as clear as possible or as solid. And then I imagine that attitude, that energy, those thoughts, those feelings inside a child, 10 years old. And then I imagine that child in front of me. And then I'm imagining, okay, so that child now came into like a foster care institution kind of thing. And I'm there, I'm working there as an adult. So I'm now watching this scene of myself as a social worker dealing with this child who has these feelings that I'm having. This is externalization with the intention of gaining awareness. And then I kind of like play out that child's behavior. And I orient the child towards me as the social worker. And then I can witness both what's going on in the social worker, like how is she treating that child? What words is she saying? And that it forces me to really, because it's easy to just say things, repeat things without really tuning into the child or really checking where you're coming from. So it forces me to do that. And it also forces me to really look at the child and be like, and this is the point that I wanted to make. That sorry, how much part of me it is to, I expect myself, and this is so many 100 folds, there's so much denial in me, there's so much gaslight within myself, there's so much expectation that I should be able to do it how everyone else does it, although that's not working because the world's a mess. So I'm looking to like illness to see how I'm supposed to behave, which is messed up. Let me think. I lost it. I lost it. Strange. Yeah. It's coming back. Just slowly. So I have so much of that within me. So it's maybe combined with the pain of acknowledging my truth or where I'm at, my feelings. So there's a lot trying to keep me from pain, let's say. And then I'm here in the midst of it, fucking it up. So then it takes a lot to really take in. When I'm looking at that child, that 9-year-old child, me, and she is distrustful as fuck, and I imagine like one of my best friends, she loves in a way that is so pure, so innocent, so magical. It's and I see that child. Didn't know I was going to cry. And I see that child, and she is distrustful. She is arm's length. She's not. I don't want to lean into that. I don't want to rely on that, which I'm struggling with. Like expectations and relying and like putting demands on people. Which is where the SWAT team comes in, actually. Because I have no clarity about this, but in a SWAT team, or special ops thing, you trust your team with your life. Man, this touches me so deeply. And to do that, there has to be clear expectations. You do this, I do that. You have my back, I have your back. And you can't fuck up. If you fuck up, people die. You can't make a mistake. If you make a mistake, people die. So for me to learn that is a reality you can't step into. While they are on missions, that's the reality. And then I imagine, like, if you're partnered with someone, I mean, then you give some responsibility to the other person. And it's so, why is it so hard for me? I think it's really hard for me because if I rely on someone for something and they fail, I'm having a really hard time with, there's consequences to that. When like some things cannot be taken back, so that it might ruin the relationship. And I love you, so I don't want that. there's real pain in that. And man, there's more in that like as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking, well, this probably ties in with my family, that me becoming aware of this, me seeing this, ties in with, let me think, let me feel, having to acknowledge that it's too late with my family, that there are things that they cannot come back from, we cannot come back from. But on some levels I know that, so it's, I don't know, maybe more scary with friends, because they are in some way in my life, but maybe it also ties back to the original trauma, when I actually relied on my parents and thinking how heartbroken, like I'm trying to think back how, because I know my parents' behavior now, and so I'm just putting their behavior now into when I was a kid, and being on the receiving end of that behavior as a kid. It just doesn't work. Like, not that I can't imagine, and in many ways I can't imagine, it's hard, but their behavior towards me as a kid, it doesn't fly, you know. So it's really, if I'm going back to that social worker me and child me, because we can be in 1,000 different perspectives at once, and me observing them, of course. Just like, if I was that social worker, if I really put myself in her position, and I'm sitting, I have the image, I'm sitting on the stairs watching this kid, and she's just not, she doesn't want to trust, she's filled with distrust, she can't, even though she wanted to, she can't, like she's riddled with this pain, and looking at her having this level of distrust, it forces me to think, like, this is the process of really seeing, because I really have to feel and get into the perspective. If I was to watch a kid like that, I'd just be like, wow, what damage has been done to that kid? What damage has been done because she is hostile? Like, you don't become that kind of distrustful without a reason. You don't. So I'm like, what has she been through? And then I'm putting her inside in my childhood, because I know, like, my mom and my dad, how they behave, and I'm kind of like seeing her in the house with them, and it kind of starts to make sense why she is the way she is. But then this is the other thing, that, like, truly seeing, that's one thing, but then because this is what I've done on my 1,000-year healing journey. You know, that I'm having this slight expectation. It's like it's so fucking sneaky that I'm meeting those young versions of me, and the expectation I have is if she just doesn't feel so untrusting, I will not be such a problem in my relationships. I will not demand as much. I will not need as much. If I can just do whatever it takes, me and her, so she doesn't feel the way she does. It's okay that she feels this way, but at the same time it's not. It's like this. These are the layers, you know, that you find in yourself as the adulting part, as the you're I don't know how to explain this. Like it's I think I had this realization not too long ago, like in the last few weeks, that like having the social worker me 9-year-old dynamic thing, where I'm like, okay, so if I'm sitting in front of this 9-year-old and she doesn't trust for a good reason, I've seen that now. I'm not sitting with that. So if I want to build trust with her, that's going to be a long fucking process. It makes me, I do not trust easily. I don't. And it's one thing, like, I don't know how to explain this. It's, if I really want her to learn trust, how I show up for her is one thing, but it's more than just the internal me seeing her and me recognizing her and me showing up properly towards her. It's also because she is my feelings. I saw some comments on a video about CPTSD the other day, and they said, I just don't like the terminology of inner child. I just don't want to deal with that. And I get it. I totally get it. But it's, those feelings are you. Like, it's so weird in a way. But those feelings are you. So you caretake them in an adult way, or you don't. And when I say adult, what do I mean? Not like I've been doing, expecting myself to not feel the way I do. And expecting myself to be trusting and not have a problem with things. Like it sits so hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that I am damaged. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like it's acknowledging the effect of my childhood. And it would make so much sense if I saw a TED Talk and this woman, she had been abused, and she's like, trust is hard for me. Like, people need to be really consistent and loving and loyal. I need them to want to be here, and I need to feel that they want it. I'll be like, of course, that makes so much sense. And then she would have friends that show up in that way. And I would just be like, of course, but I don't lend that to myself. I don't feel like I am too much. That's a me problem in a way, because that's like I'm not fully coming to term with the fact that this is the reality of me. Like, I'm closer to that reality, acknowledging it now than 4 weeks ago. It's just hard to take in that there are some things I might not have, and some things, like, there are real effects, consequences to trauma. Like, I want to give an example of that, but I'm thinking about one. Who knew I was going to cry? I was not in a crying mood when I started. No, I can't think of an example, but I want to say something else. I was thinking about something else. Because I think this is looking at this 9-year-old of mine. Which I love her. I love her. So much pain though. It's difficult. It's painful. It really is painful. It really is. Yeah, I think a common thing to say. Okay, so I'm dealing with this 9-year-old and she really needs a lot. And I'm still wrapping my head around this. So she needs a lot. And it is easy to say as the adult or as the social worker to be like, no, we have to operate within these confines. Is that a word? We have to operate. This is how adult life works. This is how reality works. So we have to fit you into that, which is the other way around. It's, I think, true health comes from within. So you have to get like really to the core, and then it unfolds. So you have to get to that child. She is the core because she has the feelings. So you have to get to her, and she needs these things. How can I make these things happen? And then people will be like, well, you can. There are no offers like that. There's no, you can't just behave like that. But like, if I have a kid and that kid's really wants something and it's out of the ordinary of how things are supposed to be done, then I'm like, I would question everything. If the child doesn't want to go to school, I'll be like, it's easy to say, but you have to go to school because you have to learn stuff. But then maybe it's not about not learning stuff. Maybe it's about learning in a different way. Like, question all the assumptions that are so ingrained that you take it for 100% granted. I think only when you work on lining up reality with that child, that's when things shift. I was reading, I'm going to say one more thing. I was reading something on YouTube by, there's an account, School of Life, by David, some strange name. He's talking about romance a lot. He wrote about Virginia Woolf, and he said she was molested by her brothers. She lost her mom when she was 15, and she lost her father when she was 22, and her life was kind of not so pleasant. Despite that, she had this capacity, I think he said huge capacity for beauty and gentleness and kindness, and and she was kind of like, as an antidote, I think, holding on to those things. And then Hitler started killing people, and the world became too cruel, and she felt like she lost her mind. She killed herself. And he wrote in that like article thing that she was relying on society to wake up for the childhood that she experienced. She relied on society to be like a counterweight, and society failed. And he said that for many people, you can see like external situations, you can see like politics and society, war, stuff like that, and it's kind of like, why, that's not something pleasant to watch, and I'm feeling kind of bad. But for some people, like people that maybe have this traumatic upbringing, it hits hard. Maybe because it reminds you that this darkness that you've already felt on your skin, you felt it. It's there. Like it becomes so personal. Don't know if I had a point with that, but I shared that. Talking for an hour. I'm very curious to see, like, I'm still thinking about this new me that I'm experiencing, this breaking this pattern, whatever pattern it is. But I guess I will be coming back and talk about that in due time when I know more, you know.